Wonderful. Good morning and welcome to our first February Commission meeting. I'm Valerie Sullivan. I want to welcome all who are on YouTube and watching this live stream of our February Commission meeting. I'd like to welcome other commissioners here this morning. I am joined by Bobby Kaplan, who's our co-chair, Dana Sullivan, who's our representative for A&F, Rebecca Butler, who's our representative for Division of Insurance, Eileen McEnany, Jason Silva, Melissa Murphy Rodriguez, Darren Ambler, Anna Sinenko, Tamara Davis, Jane Edmonds, Jerzino Garad, Kristen Pepin, Martin Curley, Dean Robinson, and Katherine West, along with Toby Choate. So we have a full house with our commissioners, and I'm thrilled to welcome all of you here today. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Matt to go over the agenda for today. Hello, Matt, and thanks for pulling this agenda together and getting us here this morning.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. Great to see everyone virtually here. Thank you for joining us. So today, as the Chair noted, we have a busy agenda. We will start off by having our Deputy Executive Director, Erica Schiavelli, who will present a report on the public information sessions that we held last month. We had very robust participation in those. We will then move on to plan design changes for a vote today. And so the conclusion of many months of work with you at the Commission and here at the team. We'll then turn it over to Cameron McBean, who will present the procurement team's recommendation for a vote on the flexible spending account, the FSA vendor. And Jennifer Hewitt, our CFO, will bring us home with an overview of the FY 2026 supplemental funding bill that was filed by the governor. Just a reminder that this is to fund the current fiscal year, and the votes you'll take today are for the coming fiscal year, fiscal 27. So the supplemental funding does not impact the decisions before you today. So that's our plan for the day. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. So at this point, before we move into the meaty part of the agenda, I would like to take a motion to approve our minutes from our January meeting.
So moved.
So Bobby, thank you for that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I think I heard Jane. So that correct, Jane? Did you second that?
Yes.
Excellent. So I have a second. So at this point, I'm going to ask Andrew to take roll call. I'm an aye. Thank you, Andrew.
Vice Chair Kaplan.
Aye.
Designee Sullivan.
Aye.
Designee Butler.
Aye.
Commissioner Ambler.
Aye.
Commissioner Choate.
You can come back to him. Yeah. He's probably
Commissioner Curley.
getting stuff.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Edmonds.
Aye.
Commissioner Garand.
Aye.
Commissioner McEnany.
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy Rodriguez.
Yes.
Commissioner Pepin.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Commissioner Silva.
Yes.
Commissioner Sinenko.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Yes.
And Commissioner Choate.
Yes.
Excellent.
The motion passes unanimously.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. Let's keep moving. We've got a lot to cover. So back to you, Matt.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. Due to the volume of information that we'll cover today, and since it's just a few weeks since our last meeting, We did not provide a written executive director's report today, but we will provide one for the meeting coming on February 26th. But I do want to take a moment to share some heartbreaking news on the staff level. Last week, Katherine Moore, a beloved member of the GIC family, passed away after a long battle with illness. Katherine was a member of the GIC's fiscal team for over 24 years. Most recently, she served as budget director, budget and research director, where she put her amazing knowledge of numbers and the state budget to work on our behalf and on behalf of the members, where she's the one who's provided you with the information that you have grown accustomed to see in the CFO reports, working with our CFO. She stepped up during the recent transition between CFOs to serve as interim CFO and presented to the commission multiple times last year. Katherine took great pride in her work, but most importantly, she was kind and always took the time to get to know coworkers that were with her here. She made the time to connect with each person that she spoke with, often exchanging stories, very colorful stories, always asking about people's children and families. Her contributions here were profoundly meaningful and lasting, but it is her character that we will remember most. It was truly a privilege to get to know her, and our hearts are with her family and loved ones during this difficult time. She will be deeply missed and fondly remembered. So I'll pause after that sad news.
Yeah. I mean, Matt, that sounded beautiful and heartfelt, and I am confident Katherine would have loved to have heard that. So I've known Katherine for many years, and it is really a sad piece of information to know that she's no longer with us. But I think you did a very nice job on that. And I don't know if anyone else wants to speak up, but our hearts are with the family, and knowing she was a beautiful person and she's no longer with us, she was great to work with. So thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, let's move to some other information because we do have a very busy agenda. So Erica, I'm loving the idea of getting your perspective collectively on all the public info sessions. So thanks. We'll move on to you.
Great, thank you. So as you know, we hosted the GIC's annual public information sessions during the last week of January to review for members the potential plan design changes that are before you today. So we host these sessions during this time between our January plan design discussion and the vote in February, in part so that we can garner feedback from members and share it with you all as commissioners ahead of the vote. So historically, we've had a great engagement with our virtual sessions, and this year has been even more impressive with the numbers given the intense focus on the potential changes. So as usual, we had 3 sessions. We've done this now for the last 6 years. And we usually have them at different times throughout the week, as you can see here, at different times to accommodate different schedules. So each session had a lot of registrants, totaling 7,464 registrants across all 3 sessions. And that represents an increase of about 142% from last year's sessions in terms of registrants. Just under 50% of those who registered actually attended a session, and the total number of those attendees was up by about 70% from last year's total of 2,105. Naturally, with more attendees, the amount of questions staff received was also up, and that was up by about 125% from last year. Staff worked rapidly and diligently to answer as many of those questions in real time as was possible. And we'll talk a little bit more about the questions received in a little bit. So I just wanted to pause here and see if there were any questions from commissioners. I don't expect that there will be.
No,
Great.
you can keep moving.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, so as you can see here, this slide provides a little bit more detail on just the logistics of each session. So each session provided live closed captioning and ASL interpretation. We did receive a lot of really helpful feedback from members on how we can improve specifically the ASL interpretation for future meetings, which we greatly appreciate, and we will work to implement for whatever our next live session is, even if that's before the next public information session. So next, our webinar license capacity has a maximum of 1,000 concurrent participants, and understanding this year's sessions would likely draw even more interest than usual. We set up a virtual overflow room of sorts. So if the webinar session was at capacity at any time when someone who registered tried to join, that person was immediately directed to the live stream on the YouTube page, where questions could still be posed to staff via email, the GIC's email inbox, so that folks could still participate in these meetings, even with the limitations we had on Zoom. And to make the sessions even more widely available, they were recorded and available on the GIC's YouTube page immediately. Lastly, we sent out a follow-up email to all registrants with the slide presentation, the recordings, and the FAQ page. And those FAQs were updated based on the questions posed to staff in the sessions, both through the Q&A function and in the emails that we received from folks who were on YouTube. All these materials are available on the GIC's website, and FAQs will continue to be updated as needed. So as we get more questions, and we do this throughout the year, as we get questions, we add them to the FAQ page. So I noted that we received about 125% more questions in the sessions this year than we did last year. And what I've laid out here is a high-level summary of the most frequent topics and themes that came up in the questions themselves. In typical years, the majority of our questions are focused on retirement, but this year the focus was squarely on affordability and GLP-1s, particularly with regard to cost shifting to members and coverage for GLP-1s for the treatment of obesity. We also tend to get many questions that are specific and personal in nature, which we direct to the GIC's contact form for assistance using the normal channels, and you can see that I've highlighted that on the last bullet here. One question we received repeatedly, but is not listed here, was how can members share their thoughts and feedback with commissioners? We asked members and directed them to send their feedback to gic.info@mass.gov, where we, and mostly me, would review, compile, and send the feedback to commissioners. We received an outpouring of feedback, which I'll discuss in more detail on the next slide. Great. So this slide is a breakdown of the emails we received as of 12 a.m. February 11th. So just a quick update right at the outset. We've received almost 200 more additional emails in general opposition to the potential changes before you in the 24-ish hours since I created this slide. Of all the, oh, actually, I also want to hold that. I'll go back to it in just a second. This slide is of the emails we've received noted here on this slide. 270 were broad opposition to all changes. 47 of the emails specifically opposed the elimination of GLP-1s for the treatment of obesity, many citing the life-changing impacts of the drugs either for themselves or for loved ones. One thing I want to note about this number 47, these emails were only about GLP-1s, focused solely on those. There were other emails scattered throughout the 270 that specifically listed multiple interventions that they were in opposition to. We did receive 6 emails in direct support of eliminating coverage for GLP-1s for the treatment of obesity, and those are reflected here as well. Another update to this slide is with regard to legislators, and this is what I was going to get to earlier, tripped myself up. So we have legislators and other elected officials. As you can see here, we initially got 3 emails as of 12 a.m. on February 11th, which includes a letter from all 12 Springfield City Council members. But yesterday evening, in addition to the 3 letters in opposition, we received a letter of opposition to the changes signed by over 60 members of the House of Representatives and another similar letter signed by over 20 members of the Senate. So just want to make sure you're all aware of that today. Any questions on this slide before I move on to some of the themes from the emails?
I don't see any, Erica. I think people want to hear in aggregate, and then we'll discuss.
Great. So this last slide is of the readout provides common themes from the 350 emails that I noted on the previous slide. As with the question and answer from the public information sessions, the emails were heavily focused on affordability and GLP-1 coverage for the treatment of obesity. Several members noted that they would have to make choices between putting food on the table or getting necessary medical treatment, and that the impact of these changes would be felt disproportionately by sicker members and or those with lower relative salaries. Others shared their fear that the elimination of GLP-1 for the treatment of obesity would dismantle the health gains they have made since starting the medication, as well as raising many of the same equity concerns some of the commissioners have shared publicly. With that, I will take any questions the commissioners might have.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Jane.
of all the themes, and you've listed them here, which can you just share with us the themes that stood out, the ones that were that you heard the most, that you heard the most passion behind? Can you give us that kind of a flavor?
Sure, yeah. So the way I set up these slides is really the things that I heard the most about or that I read the most about, I put up at the top and have a bit more detail to them. So really affordability was, I think, the biggest concern across the board, loud and clear, and frustration at kind of the options that were on the table. We did also have a lot of emails that really understood the position that commissioners were in, and that the GIC is in, that the governor's office is in, just given the budget prospects. So we appreciate that. We heard a lot from members about strong support to maintain coverage for the treatment of obesity for GLP-1s. We also heard a lot of feedback about Vita Health, which is not on the table before you today, but is relevant to GLP-1s. So we took that back in a separate work stream to work on that. But really across the board, it was affordability, fairness, and equity in GLP-1s.
Thank you, Erica. Bobby, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes.
You have the floor.
Thank you. 1 second. Sorry. So yes, I just wanted to mention, in addition to, to these emails and texts directly to the GIC following these sessions, as you all know, I personally received hundreds of emails and texts and phone calls from members regarding these changes. And in addition, as we all know, we received yesterday 410 pages, not letters or emails, but 410 pages comprised of emails from our members, which responding, basically pleading with us to not make any design changes, to leave everything in place. And in addition, in our packet of materials yesterday, there were 91 pages devoted specifically to the possible elimination of GLP-1s for weight loss. And I don't know about you, but I, was not able to read through 410 pages last night of every single email, but I've read about 3/4 of those and have not had an opportunity to even absorb and process these, but they all speak to the inequitable cost shifting to low income workers, to Black and brown people, to retirees who do not have Social Security or Medicare, and people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and what harm this will do, making these plan design changes that are being proposed. So it's not just, this is in addition to all the emails that were sent directly to the GIC. These, 410 pages from the people that we serve, that we're providing affordable and equitable health care. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. Thank you, Bobby. I am struck by these bullets here, because healthcare is consuming not just our constituents' paychecks, but the entire state. All of us are struggling with, healthcare taking up an enormous amount of our paychecks. And, this third bullet, this addressing affordability and cost drivers for the long term, I think commissioners, I don't want to single anyone out, but if we go back over, many, many, many months of discussion, commissioners have weighed in very specifically on desiring a plan that structurally changes and molds and pivots to some degree, for the long term, the cost drivers, so that our members who deserve this affordability, we can serve them. So thank you for all of that information. I don't know if anyone else wants to comment, or we can keep moving.
Madam Chair, I'd like to comment if I may.
Yes, please.
I know we're about to talk about the votes, and I'd just like to build on Vice Chair Kaplan's comment with a specific respectful request. I have struggled, like everyone else, with the responsibility that I have as a commissioner to exercise judgment that is going to be judgment that is good for the people that I serve and represent and for the entire Commonwealth. And the struggle's tough. And so I'd respectfully request additional time. I don't think that we're in a position today to take a vote on anything. Just as it's been said, and I don't mean to be redundant, but in the last 24 hours alone, a substantial number of legislators, as we just heard, in both the House and Senate, have just said to us, please vote no on the proposed plan design changes. Whether or not, frankly, we ultimately agree with them, that level of engagement to me signals that the concern, along with member feedback that we're hearing very, very strongly, that the concerns that are raised are serious and broadly felt. And at the same time, we're being asked to vote on plan design buckets, and without having complete clarity on their full contents and the projected real world impact. On the people we serve, on the human beings that we serve. They're real people in those emails. Like Vice Chair Kaplan, I've received over 300 emails personally and phone calls. And some of the stories are heartbreaking, but they, to me, signal that we're talking about human beings that we serve. So as fiduciaries, the way I look at it, we're charged not only with managing costs, we want to support the good work of the governor and the administration, but we have to safeguard access to care. And, and so what we don't have, and what troubles me, is clear data on the health consequences of cost shifting. Many of us have asked for that repeatedly. We have heard repeatedly that increasing deductibles and copays will contain premium growth. But, there's so much more that's attached to a vote of this magnitude with permanent consequences. And I don't we should accept resting on incomplete information. So I'm really not asking to avoid difficult decisions, but I'm asking respectfully that we make them with the full picture in front of us and with the time that's allowed for us to make a sound judgment. And given the mounting, legislative concern and the absence of comprehensive impact data, I really believe that it's prudent and responsible to table this vote so that we can review the full implications and ensure we're making the right decision, not just the fastest one. And as far as I'm concerned, deliberation is not delay for its own sake, it's due diligence. So thank you for allowing me to speak, Madam Chair. As always, I appreciate your leadership.
Jane, thank you. I see there's a lot of hands up, so this is a spirited conversation. Hey, Dana, do you want to jump in here at all, representing?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Commissioner Edmonds. I think that sentiment is something we've heard from a lot of commissioners and based on the feedback. And we know the GIC's growth is not sustainable for our budget or for our members. And we're all sitting here really focused on healthcare affordability. But we also know there's a direct relationship between the plan design changes before us today and the rate vote we are going to need to take later this month. But what we're hearing from the commission members and our membership is that we need more data on exactly how these plan design changes are going to impact members' costs and what happens to premiums if these changes aren't implemented. And those are really important questions for us to answer to ensure that we have an informed vote that keeps member affordability and impact at the forefront. So I'm therefore moving to table the plan design changes, and I'm requesting an impact analysis from the GIC on those proposed changes and their connection with premiums. I know time is of the essence since we have to set rates in time for open enrollment. I hope this analysis can be done quickly and that we can reconvene in the near future to vote with that information in hand.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
Yes, please go ahead, Andrew.
You can't have a motion to table something that has not yet been moved. You can't make a motion to postpone taking up the thing. Just.
So can I revise my motion then?
Yeah, and I think we're still in discussion, and Dana does have a chance to revise it, or potentially I could entertain a motion, but we're not at that point. I think we're still in discussion. Andrew, is that a fair way to categorize?
Sure. You can handle it that way. That's fine.
Yes, thank you. So what I'm hearing from Jane and what I'm hearing from Dana is we need more data. I don't think there's anybody on the commission, or it sounds like with our constituents, who isn't struggling with the high cost of healthcare. And what Dana is pointing to, along with Jane, is that the premiums are going to be far higher if we don't make these benefit designs that are in front of us, but we don't have all the data. I've heard commissioners ask repeatedly for like either like what is the premium look like if we don't do it versus what would that projected out of cost be. So I think that's the type of data we're looking for. And I'm going to now call on a few folks because I'm thinking they're also going to make some suggestions on the data that would be required for a vote to proceed. So Eileen, why don't you go ahead and take the floor, please?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the GIC staff. I know it's been a lot of work and you've received a lot of feedback. And so I appreciate all the time and effort you've put in to this. I, like others, struggle with this vote. What I was going to suggest, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, and I appreciate the bundling of some of the recommendations kind of to understand and categorize them. I think though today, my guess is there probably are a few that we may agree on that we could take off the table. I think there are several others that are far more controversial, but I wonder if the exercise is worth going through. So if we're able to in any way narrow or winnow down some of this, we might do that.
Okay. Thank you, Eileen. Anna, do you want to take the floor? And then Bobby?
Great. Yeah, thank you. I want to, well, good morning, everyone. And I want to really thank everyone, first on the commission. I know how seriously everyone is taking this responsibility and this role here to think about what's in the best interest of our members in the state, and thank the staff for their hard work. And I think I wanted to make a comment, and then I have a request for the impact analysis. So on the comment, I think it is very important, absolutely, that we are thinking about the impact of benefit design changes on our members. But I also just wanted to put forward and remind us all that the state has a lot of priorities. Healthcare is not the only one. And the decision about whether or not to fund the GIC so that benefit designs can remain unchanged or not, it's not like, should we just do it or not? It's how to allocate revenue across all of the priorities. And the governor, made a decision that this is one of the places where the administration thought we could make some cuts. And if we don't cut here, it's going to cut somewhere else, right? It's going to be less money for education, and that might mean teachers lose jobs, or it's going to be less money for cities and towns. And, that could be job loss, in among firefighters or police officers. And so there is trade-offs, and it's not, it's not just that we have all this money and we can spend it or not. It's that if we spend it here, we can't spend it somewhere else. And so I really think that all the benefit design changes are really short-term solutions that we're sort of faced with while we look for better long-term solutions. If we find better long-term solutions, we should revisit all of this. If the prices for GLP-1 drugs come down, if we're able to get them lower, we could come back and revisit coverage. And that we could also be looking at, I'm really concerned about equity, and could we implement differential premium contributions by wage? Could we implement differential cost sharing by wage? And so I think these are short-term solutions. And then I also, along this line, for the impact analysis, I think we need to understand premiums, not just at the individual member level, but the total budget level. Right? So that should be, I would love that to be part of the impact analysis. And I request that you not only just do it holding everything constant, but with some variation in your assumptions about growth, right? And growth in utilization, right? Because growth could, utilization, the trend in growth could increase. And so we want to see what that looks like too, please. Thank you.
Spoken like a true economist. Hey, Bobby, I see you have your hand up. So does Darren? If you could go ahead, that would be great.
Yes. I appreciate, the comment so far, but I wanted to add that the governor just convened the healthcare affordability work group, which, has just begun. We have no idea what the results, what the outcome of that group is going to report, right? We have no idea at this point. The Vita Health was just implemented January 1st, 6 weeks ago. We have no data on whether the requirements of that program are going to help reduce the costs of GLP-1s. And to Commissioner Sineko's point, it's a short-term fix, very short-sighted, but these are forever changes for plan design with impacts that we already know as commissioners, particularly commissioners who represent the public sector workforce and the retirees, whose pensions, by the way, increase only on the first $13,000 of their pension. So each year, their increases are $350 approximately. All right. Most retirees do not have Social Security. They don't have Medicare. Okay. All they have are their pensions and GIC. And these changes will forever impact, as I said, lower income workers, the municipal workers who clean the streets, right? Plow the snow, right? The aides, right? The people who work in the cafeteria in the schools, the custodial staff, everywhere in public buildings, in schools, right? These are the people who can least afford, and many, I will repeat, of our members are Black and brown people who, for whom the, weight loss medication is critical to their health. Low income workers, single parents, majority of whom are women. Many of our members hold second jobs so they can afford rent and food increases. And it is unfair to try to save $120 million and to shift those costs to employees.
Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah.
so I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I concur with Jane that we table the vote, delay the vote.
Yeah, for more information. I think that Dana was speaking, at least I'm interpreting, the governor and the administration have heard that there's more data to be had to make this decision. I do, though, want to piggyback on what Anna said. I am concerned about continuing, though, to shift costs of the plan. Even if it feels short term, $120 million could have significant impact in our state. This is on top of a $300 million that's being filed, on top of a $240 million. So, I think the cry is for, this bullet that our constituents are requesting equally, that we are, is like, what is the plan for the long term? So I hear you, Bobby. We all care deeply about the constituents. The impact analysis that I'd like to see, in addition to what you've brought up with Vita Health, is, what are the salaries of our people? And then what is the impact across them if they picked one of the plans that, premiums did, keep to, a single digit increase because we've made plan design, or a young person. So like maybe the impact analysis can be on different personas, like, a young person who's not a utilizer of healthcare might choose to go with a plan that has a higher, cost share because they want to keep their premium costs down. So I hear you, and I think that's added to the impact analysis that I'm hearing is maybe something we should have a motion on. But I'm not there yet. I want to have discussion. Darren, you've been patient. Go ahead and take the floor, please.
Yeah, sure. I just have a couple of things. One, if we're going to, there were a couple of things. So Dana had brought up, tabling the mass of the changes, and then I think it was Eileen who mentioned maybe we could proceed with some, vote today, and others. So I'm not. I know we still have to, clarify a motion on all of that. But if we are able to move forward with some today, I think it would be prudent for Matt or other members of the GIC team that are on here to maybe consider what changes are going to take them the most time. I think things like Prudent RX might be one of those things where, an outside administrator is needed to coordinate those changes. So we have to act in the interest of time to make the least impact on members. So maybe if the member of the GIC team wants to chime in and just say, hey, these are the things that are going to take us the longest. So we need to act on this the fastest if we're going to vote or not. But the other side of it, I do want to mention is that to me, affordability starts with the paycheck. And when we're talking about affordability at the paycheck level, we're talking about all 460,000 some odd members. And the reality is, if we don't make changes, that paycheck's going to go down significantly. That's just the reality. And that affects every single member of the plan, as opposed to the high utilizers. And I get that high utilizers of the plan will be affected more by plan design changes. But I think affordability, we have to consider that. And that also, the fairness to the taxpayer on this as well. Most taxpayers in this state, the vast, vast majority, do not have a plan that is nearly as rich as the plan that is offered by the state through the GIC. That we saw the level of cost sharing is close to 92% by the state and only 8% by the member, versus the private market, which is closer to 80-20. And that's dropping every single year, going more to the 79 level. So I think those are all considerations that why should the state plan be so much richer than what the taxpayers have as on average? And the affordability for the taxpayer, I think, is really important too here. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. I'm going to have a few more commissioners chime in, and then I think we will go to hear from the staff and the motions they've put in front of us, and potentially consider those motions or alter them. Andrew, is that still okay from a procedural perspective? Just check it in.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
There's nothing on the. There's
Yeah,
no
good.
motion that
Okay.
has been seconded
just-
at this point. You could free to go how you want to.
Yes, just checking. Jason, we don't often hear from you, so I'm going to give you the floor. Thank you.
Thanks. I just want to say a few things. One, I'm really sensitive to Vice Chair Kaplan's comments. But I'm also sensitive to 10-11% increase in premiums that is going to have a permanent impact on folks, similar to what Darren just said. So I get the cost shifting is problematic for me, but if it saves folks premiums and saves folks paychecks, that it may make sense for people. We just don't have that data. I know the GIC staff have been working around the clock on this, so but I really hope that we can get some, as a lot of other folks have said, some comprehensive analysis. We've been talking about that for the last several meetings, and I think it's really important for us to understand those impacts before making a decision. And the only other thing I'll say is I'll piggyback off of Commissioner Seneco's comments around, these are difficult choices for us, but there are a series of difficult choices that are being made throughout the state and throughout state agencies. And if we're not going to have any skin in this game, it's going to affect other very vulnerable residents of the Commonwealth, because they're going to have to cut elsewhere. And so I think having that data to help inform our decisions really is critically important. I don't know what it's going to take to get there. I think it's an important question to ask the GIC staff, because I'm sure they've been working on it. But if we schedule a meeting in a week, are we going to have that data? How long is it going to take? And what are the hurdles? What are the hurdles they're facing to get us that data?
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. This might be a good time, potentially Matt and Andrew and others to weigh in on timing and, an impact analysis that has, weigh in from CVS, some providers, different personas, different views on rate increases on premiums if nothing is done versus if there are a few changes.
Yeah,
Could
thank
we
you,
meet in
Madam
a
Chair.
week?
Uh, I can't answer that question sitting here today, I'm afraid. But I think the feedback that we're getting is helpful feedback. We will take, if the desire of the commission, as will be, I presume, expressed in a vote at some point soon, is to delay a vote on the plan design changes, we will figure out how to respond to the requests that have been made to us.
Okay.
I do want to note that the amount of work that goes into preparing for annual enrollment, which is just at this point 6 or 7 weeks away, which may sound like a long time, but with the amount of work that we have to do, it is a very tight set of timelines. So I can't tell you as a commission what a delay in this vote will mean for us, but I can tell you that it seriously puts at risk our ability to just be ready for annual enrollment that starts on April 1st.
Okay. Well, thank you, Matt.
Yep.
We'll keep having commissioners weigh in. I love the input. Dean, you've had your hand up for a while. You've been very patient. Please take the floor. Dean, are you on mute? You are on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I just want to say something for the record. I shared with the commissioners my view on the way this should go, which supports the idea that we would vote on things for which there's consensus and less disruption, but that we would defer on a vote on any cost sharing measures. But I want to make an additional comment that I also emphasized in the email I shared with the commissioners, which is that I don't believe that it's the zero sum in the way it's been characterized. We're talking about $100 million, and there are sources of untapped revenues that can easily fill in that gap in the short term. So I don't think that this puts in jeopardy kind of trade-offs in the way that some people might fear. And then the other thing that I want to say in terms of impact analysis, that of course there's a financial dimension. We have to consider the range of members that are affected. At UMass Amherst, there's probably a 20-fold difference between the lowest paid worker and the top paid worker on my campus. But I also want to emphasize that we should talk about health impacts, because the research is unequivocal. When you shift costs, it produces adverse health outcomes, and in fact, it increases risk for mortality. So that has to be part of any impact analysis, that the consequences don't just stop in terms of finances, but they really go to matters of patient health.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Eileen. You've been patient. Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you. I just want to make a couple of comments. So I appreciate what Commissioners Seneko and Kaplan and others have indicated. And I very much appreciate that the exercise before us today is about state employees and retirees. But each one of them is also a taxpayer. And so I would just encourage us to think about this healthcare conversation in a little broader context. And I absolutely agree that this is an exercise about trade-offs. But at least in my perspective, not all trade-offs are created equal. And as someone who studied the budget in detail for several years, I think there are more preferable ways to save this money. And so I do think we just want to think about healthcare in that broader context. And in my mind, I see at least some of the work of the GIC is to be a change agent. We are the largest purchaser, certainly in the state, I've heard in New England. But I think we can help lead the way on systemic change. And I think we can't lose sight of that context too.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being brief. Tamara, go ahead. Do you have your hand up? Hi, Tamara.
Good morning. And I do also appreciate all of the comments that have been made, but I'm one of these individuals that believe that you have to consider all stakeholders in the Commonwealth, because it's not just the employees that are being impacted, it's the taxpayers, and all of us here in the Commonwealth are impacted differently by not just healthcare, but just taxes. And I'd like the GIC to consider that was somewhat suggested, sort of a sliding scale of how we assess premiums. And as an example, I'm going to give you this example of Medicare. In Medicare, if I'm on Medicare, so and if I'm earning a certain amount of money outside of my retirement my pension, or if I'm earning money, then I have to, Medicare takes more out of my paycheck, basically my Social Security, which is my paycheck. They take more out of that, and I get less Social Security, so that it could be equitable with those that are not getting any additional income other than Social Security. So there's got to be some kind of equity that those who earn more can then contribute more. And that includes employees. Employees that earn more should be contributing more to their healthcare costs. And so that it's not all burdensome to those that don't earn as much and have the same premiums. And I think we need to think about equity all the way around, and not just those that need it most, because it impacts everyone. And so somehow, if the GIC can think of out of the box, because there are other states that are doing similar kinds of things that are patterned after Medicare, or patterned after other kind of programs that might be feasible. In other words, let's think out of the box. And there's a short-term solution and a long-term solution. But I think we need to think about it strategically, and not just try to, put out the fire.
Well said, Tamara. Thank you. Bobby, you've been patient. Go ahead and take the floor, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to, sort of comment on Commissioner McEnany's, point about taxpayers, right? Because I always bristle when someone makes a comment about taxpayers, right? As if we in the public sector don't pay taxes. We are also taxpayers. Retirees pay taxes, right? So we're all involved in this. And it's when I hear that, it's as if taxpayers were a separate group in which we are not included. We are taxpayers too. Okay. And just to reiterate a point that I have made many times, premiums, an increase, or all the premiums are pre-tax benefit on the federal side, and they also are spread out over 24 pay periods. And there is less of an impact than increasing deductibles, increasing copays, which are out-of-pocket costs, right? Those really have a huge impact on people, the out-of-pocket costs. So I just wanted to mention that I want people to be aware of that, because there are a lot of us in the public sector, and the municipalities that are not part of the GIC use the GIC, sees rates as a benchmark, right, for their employees. We are all impacted by this.
Yes.
And so,
thank you. Dana, go ahead and take the floor. I see you have had your hand up.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson, I just wanted to respond to one of your last comments. So it's fitting you have your hand up again. I wanted to just bring it back to sort of contextualize the growth of the GIC relative to the rest of the budget. So the governor's budget came out 2 weeks ago. The consensus revenue growth for FY27 was only 2.4%. And what we're seeing is at the GIC, if you compare the GAA that was signed in July to the governor's budget, there's a 16% growth in the GIC. So it's unsustainably growing relative to the rest of revenue across the Commonwealth. And if you compare it, if you add in the $300 million SUP that we filed as well, the growth is still 10% over current year spending. And so I hear you, but we are growing unsustainably and need to think about that creatively for affordability across the Commonwealth.
Yeah. Yes. So Dean, I don't know if you've had if your hand is continuing to be up or you have a new comment, but you have the floor. Okay, so I see that your hand has come down.
I think he's muted.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead. You do have the floor still.
I understand that the inflation is unsustainable. I was speaking about potential sources of revenue in the short term while we work on ideas and plans to control costs in the longer term, of which there are many, and the governor's committee will do that. I'm part of a team that's working on something as well. The other thing that I want to say, just a comment about compensation that I just want to lay out there in case people don't realize, we'll produce data, let's say, on salary and how it compares by employment grade across, public sector workers. But I think for a lot of us, there's been a kind of trade-off where our raises, our comparative salaries, compared to other states, are often behind. But the trade-off is that we have depended on, or we've benefited from having, strong health insurance as part of that compensation. So I think that's another. This was in the emails and texts and phone calls that I received. That was the point that was really emphasized repeatedly, right? A feeling of being relatively underpaid, that the annual increases aren't really keeping up with inflation, but at least there's good health insurance. So that's what I wanted to say.
No, thank you, Dean. Jane,
yeah, just
go
a
ahead.
quick comment. I share Commissioner Davis's comment that we want fairness for everyone, but as I hear that part of the conversation, I think we need to remind ourselves that, in policy terms, though equity usually means paying hard attention to those who are most affected so that changes don't unintentionally hit those with the fewest resources the hardest. And if we can keep that lens, we can still design something that works for all members while recognizing differences in impact. So that's part of what troubles me about the possible votes right now. I don't think we've done enough work in that regard and have the data in front of us to assure us that we're not by voting on any of these measures hurting people who can least afford it.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. Hey, Toby, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick one's a question. One is just reiterating something I said last time, and the other's a question. We just backed into a corner. We're not talking about the real problem, and I know it's not totally within our control. It's the unit pricing, and then we're going to have a 30 person work group, and I'll put money on it that it will not get resolved there, but I hope I'm wrong. The second is just a question. When's the last time we changed the out-of-pocket contributions of the employees? What was the date?
It was 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, of course. Eileen, go ahead and take the floor.
This will be my last comment, I promise. But I do have to respond. I understand that the GIC's cost trend is going up higher than tax revenues, but I think it's indicative of a much bigger healthcare cost trend. And I think it's not just the GIC. I represent folks in the merged market, and their increases are double digit. So again, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, like this isn't unique to the GIC.
Yeah.
And so the solutions have to be systemic. And so part of the challenge we're facing in the budget is being driven by healthcare costs that comprise almost 50% of the budget. So.
Agreed. We are all as a state struggling with high healthcare costs. Go ahead, Darren. Love your input here. All of your input. It's great.
I just wanted to follow up on Eileen made the connection to the merge market, and I just wasn't sure if everyone on the call understands what the merge market is. The merge market is the small group and individual market here in Massachusetts. So it's small employers up to 50 employees and all individuals who are covered by individual health plans. They represent one market with rate regulation here in Massachusetts, and typically they are hit a lot harder than other parts of the market due to the healthcare changes and cost increases.
And so is that part of the data that we could potentially look at to have that balance of what are the premium increases in other parts of the market?
Well, I think the private data is important from the standpoint of what those employers are going through and what individuals who purchase insurance directly here in Massachusetts are going through, and that their cost increases are quite high, typically 8 to 10%. But this year, it's, as Eileen pointed out, it's even higher. Trend in this marketplace is very high, and they're being hit very hard and making changes to their plans. Typically, those employers, those small employers, and even large employers are making changes in terms of out-of-pocket costs on an annual basis. Copays, deductibles are shifting every single year. Deductibles, typically they're going to move $250 to $500 each year. And copays will change anywhere between $10 and $30 every single year. So that they go up significantly. And that's what we're seeing in the private market for certain.
Yeah. And we haven't increased any kind of cost shift in 8 years. That is accurate? I just want for the data points.
That's what Matt had stated. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, you all know I like a robust and multi-threaded conversation with all the commissioners weighing in. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Erica, for the themes here. Appreciate that. I'm certain that our hardworking, committed GIC staff has taken note of all the data points and the impact analysis and feel the same sense of urgency we have to kind of have more discussion to inform our thinking. So let's keep moving because we do still have a very full agenda. and let's see what's next.
Thank you,
All
Madam
right.
Chair. If we move to the next slide. So our approach to this entire section, of course, will pivot based on the prior discussion, but we wanted to give you a little bit of an update on the budget exercise and the budget challenge now that the governor's budget proposal has been released. And I think it might be helpful just to walk through how we have structured for this meeting, even if it's just briefly, the votes that that we had intended to bring to you for votes today, if only so that we can get some feedback if it is the desire of the commission to table these decisions for today, if there's any feedback that commissioners can give based on the way we've structured it, we'd like to hear that. So first here is, so you've seen a lot of this content will look familiar to you. We've been talking about the savings target for the GIC being $100 million. We were anticipating that that would be incorporated into the budget the way it was filed by the governor on the 28th of January, and that is, so I want to confirm that that is the case. So that challenge, that budget savings target remains and is now part of the governor's budget. I do want to flag that there are three other elements of the budget as it was filed that we want to note here. There were two additional changes that we have discussed with the commission more on an informational basis because they are not the jurisdiction of the commission, but rather would require legislation in the budget or related to the budget. Those were to standardize premium contribution ratios for all state employees at the 75-25 level. That was not included in House 2 as it was filed by the governor. And similarly, the proposal or the proposal to align dental premium contributions to those of the member's health plan rather than the 90-10 split that exists today. That was also likewise not included in House 2. So we wanted to flag that for the commission. Those would have achieved an approximately $20 million in savings to the budget, but that is outside of the $100 million savings target before the commission. We had also sought language that would prohibit providers from turning away GIC members for out-of-network services based on the payment level and the payment methodology that the GIC decides. That is one of the items that we would be bringing to you for a vote. That language was not included in the governor's budget, but we will continue to seek that from the legislature throughout the budget process. So a brief update and essentially confirming some details that we know today that we didn't know in our January meeting.
All right, thank you, Matt. Let's keep moving.
Yep. So on the next slide. So now that the governor's budget has been filed, we've revised this slide that we've brought to you in our January meeting with some new information so that you can see how that flows through to our the challenge before us, that we have a status quo at the highest level. If we make no changes, we would not meet the governor's budget target and would not align with the budget, and we would see a premium increase of approximately 10.9%. I would just again reiterate that that exists within a range that is not yet final, so that number could move somewhat up or down. If we adopt the entire list of changes, that would bring us in alignment with House 2, and have a premium increase of 6%. And then you can see the same if we include all but GLP-1s. Of course, we've heard in the prior section the desire to see some additional information, and we will get to work on providing you what we can.
And in this premium increase, remind me, did stakeholders who are GIC members see that they could have a 4% change in premiums if there was some of these cost shares adopted? Was this,
I
is
believe
there
that
data?
was, yeah.
Is there
I'm sorry.
data from constituents that, if they had to pick, would they go with the 10% increase in premium, or could it go higher to try to offset the budget increase, this 170 on top of 300 and 240? Is there some way to get a sense of member preferences?
We would have to go back and look at the feedback that we got. I can tell you that I don't recall whether we included this slide. I believe we included a version of this information for our members just to illustrate that plan design changes, while they increase member cost sharing, also bring premium levels down. I see Erica has her hand up and she may be able to answer that.
Yeah, that would be great. Go ahead,
Madam
Erica,
Chair.
you have the floor.
So we did present this slide during the public information sessions, and also, granted, it was a little bit different because we hadn't known at that time that the contribution ratios piece was coming off. So members have seen this slide in the public information sessions, and then I think the data you're asking for about what members would prefer, I think we can look to the member feedback that we've gotten via email. They've seen this slide, and their feedback were all the emails that you all received and that we received. So that's how I would look at that.
Yeah.
Unless there's another way to think about it.
Yeah.
Or another way someone else can think about it.
That might be qualitative, because the people who don't want the increases are the ones that are reaching out. I was struck by the fact that some of the feedback was that they wanted a high deductible health plan. Again, that's qualitative. You could, make a hypothesis that, that premium increases for those folks are not tenable. So I think it's too qualitative. I was looking for more quantitative, but very helpful directionally. So thank you. Andrew, am I straying from procedure?
No, I was just going to remind Commissioners, some who weren't here at the time, we did actually run surveys and ask that specific question to get a sense of how our membership felt between premium increases versus increases in out-of-pockets. And the response was they would prefer premium increases over out-of-pocket increases.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Andrew. Thank you for that. And so that was the conjoint member preferences survey that we did. This goes back to fiscal 24, perhaps. But there is some good quantitative data there that we can bring forward for the next commission vote, next commission meeting.
And potentially we could ask, for some sort of choices if there was, but if the premiums came up a little bit more or we had new products, could the net budget increase go down? And for those people, we give them enough choices. So I do think that we could potentially get more data. It is short on timing, but I think if I'm collecting across the commissioners, we want to see these choices, because our fiduciary responsibility is balanced with, the needs of our stakeholders with the needs of our our budget. And it's not an infinite budget. I don't want to bankrupt our state. So Darren, I see your hand is up. go ahead, take the floor. And then Bobby, you've been very patient.
Yeah, it's just a comment on adding other plans that might have higher deductibles and lower contributions by the employee. One of the problems with a plan like this is you're really not going to have a huge impact on actual claims paid, but you might be reducing the contributions paid in when you have a plan like this. So if a lot of the very healthy younger employees typically are more healthy, they choose to go that route, we end up reducing the contribution levels into the plan without a major change, a corresponding change in the actual claims. So we run the risk of underfunding the plan unless you basically kind of offset that with increases for the higher cost plan.
Yeah, and that's what I'm
Or have a very
thinking.
small decrease. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to kind of measure sometimes, but
Yeah.
the total funding for the plan usually has to be similar because the claims aren't going to change a whole lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Thank you. Bobby?
Yes, thank you,
comment?
Valerie. I just wanted to remind commissioners that even though the copays and the deductibles may not have changed in 8 years, the actual out-of-pocket costs have increased because many of the providers have moved from a tier 1 to a tier 3. And I hear every single day from people who say now they're paying, almost every doctor they go to is a specialist, is a tier 3. And they're paying $75 for a visit instead of $20 for a visit. And more and more medications are being removed from CVS Caremark's formulary, so that many of the medications are exorbitant. People are paying, well over $100 for one medication, and these are costs that, even though the actual copays have not changed, what's shifted are the changes within those copays. So the copays are more, people are paying more out of pocket, people are seeing out of network providers. And so I just want to remind commissioners that the cost has shifted already. And it will shift even more.
It really has. It just has
Yes.
continued to shift, regardless of whether you are one of our constituents or not. Today's environment around healthcare is more and more is being shifted to us on a personal basis, and it's a systemic problem.
Yes, it is, but it is one right that this making these changes is not going to fix. It's an underlying systemic problem that is nationwide, that's been going on for years. That $120 million is not going to break the budget, and it's very short-sighted because it's not going to fix the underlying problem.
Thank you, Bobby. Anna, our economist. Go
Right.
ahead, you have the floor.
Comment, Madam Chair. I know we may start losing some commissioners at 10. So after Anna's comment, maybe we can
absolutely go to the next slide. Thank you, Matt, for bringing that up.
Sorry, I have just a quick comment, which is that I don't doubt, Bobby, that I know people are paying those higher copays for the tier 3, but I actually think the comment that more doctors are in tier 3 is not the information that I had. My understanding is the changes to the tiered networks that were made towards the end of 2010s made tier 3s even smaller. So it's down to below about 10% of claims are with tier 3 doctors. So I just wanted to note that actually tier 2's gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah, and
Thank
we've
you,
got
Anna.
some data. Thank you, Commissioner Seneko. We've got some data that we presented back in the spring around our out-of-pocket that we can bring forward to validate or not some of the comments that we've received here, but we can provide some data on that.
Thank you. All right, well, at your suggestion, Matt, let's keep moving. We don't want to lose commissioners. This has been great discussion.
Yeah, so time being short, I think I'm going to go a different path here than I would have. I'll just make a couple of brief comments, and then if we want to have motions, we can have motions. We have packaged the plan design options that we've presented to you over the last, I think, 3 meetings. And what we could best determine were ones that we could bundle together with some logic, right? And so we have here in this first slide, plan design changes with relatively low or no member impact. Those include the copay assistance program and the uniform methodology for out-of-network payment. If we can skip forward 2 slides, we have here collected all of the changes to member cost sharing, copays, deductibles, and in one case, coinsurance. And then 2 more slides, please. All of the changes that impact both our Medicare plans and our active plans. So that includes GLP-1 coverage for weight loss, hearing aid coverage, and premium contributions for surviving spouses. So when we do get to a vote, whether it's today or at a future meeting, I just want to note that commissioners may, at their desire, pull out or repackage any of these and make motions as they desire. I would suggest that if Commissioner has that in mind, if we can be helpful in preparing a slide that packages those together, and if you can let us know, we'd be happy to prepare slides for that rather than trying to do it on the fly in a meeting. But we will be ready to do a pivot however the commission would like to proceed with a vote. I do want to caution that we are best served by sticking to the options that we have laid out here rather than variants of the options that we've laid out here. So any change in the details of any specific option would be moving us in a different direction than we have sort of publicly been socializing this with you, with the public, with our members through the public information sessions, and our ability to provide you the kind of information and data that you'd want is extraordinarily limited. So impact on members, feasibility, advisability, budget savings, all of those things. So my suggestion is to not vary from within these motions, within these proposals, to change the details. With that, I will stop. And I think this would be the point at which, if a motion is to be made, it can be made.
Right.
Well, can you go back to the beginning of the slide deck with the different motions? Because it seems like you've given us 3 motions here, potentially.
Yeah.
So the first one here that you're suggesting is, would you like to kind of color it for us?
As I noted, this is moving forward with the uniform payment methodology for out-of-network services and the copay assistance program through CVS called Prudent RX. Combine these together, I believe on the prior slide might be able to show, get us about 1/3 of the way or 1/4 of the way. Yeah, it gets us to close to 20 million, if I'm reading that correctly. So that is the motion on the first package.
All right.
Happy to proceed however the commission would like.
I was going to make that motion, or I'm happy to second it.
Okay, Bobby.
Did we vote to approve the plan design changes with low member disruption.
Okay. Bobby, are you a second, or did you want
Yes.
to have more discussion?
No, I am a second to that.
Okay.
But
So we have a motion
Mhm.
here made by Eileen, seconded by Bobby, that we are going to approve plan design for a uniform methodology for health carrier reimbursement of out of network in Mass and implement Prudent RX. Okay, so moved here. So Andrew, I'm going to ask you to take roll call, but I'm an aye.
Vice Chair Kaplan,
Aye.
Designee Sullivan,
Aye.
Designee Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Ambler,
Aye.
Commissioner Choate,
Yes.
Commissioner Curley,
Aye.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Edmonds,
Aye.
Commissioner Guerin,
Aye.
Commissioner McEnany,
Aye.
Commissioner Pepin,
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy Rodriguez,
Aye.
Commissioner Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinenko,
Aye.
and Commissioner West.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Let's keep moving.
So the second motion relates to member copays, deductibles, and coinsurance.
Yeah.
Before, so
No, go ahead, Bobby.
before we vote on this, I would like to introduce a motion to delay the vote on any further design changes until we have all had a chance to read more than 500 pages of pleas from the members that we serve, to whom we provide health insurance.
Yeah, and I think what we heard, if I can speak collectively, I think commissioners are looking for data, like facts and data, as much as the input from constituents on these changes, which, yes, shift costs, but also without it, we have, increases in premiums. So I think if I could, I think that's the summary. I saw Darren's hand go up and then Dean. So Darren, go ahead and take the floor.
I think Dean was first, but it's a quick comment on Bobby's motion. I think the motion is fine. But we need a timeline on that. So it would be, if we're going to have that motion, it would be to hold the vote at this date, because Matt's team at the GIC, they need a lot of time for this. And we're only 6 weeks away.
What I
I
would
second Bobby's motion.
Okay,
thank
and
you,
I
Darren.
can revise it to ask that we delay the vote on plan design changes, on the remainder of plan design changes, for 1 week till next Thursday.
Madam Chair, if I may, I don't know. I don't know when we can be ready to present what to the commission. So what I appreciate Commissioner Ambler's comment that we need time. I just don't know how much time. So I would suggest if there's a motion to table, it would just be a motion to table, not to a specific date, and we can figure out the right length of time that we need to get the commission what they've requested, and it will be as expeditious as we can possibly make it. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you, Matt. Dean, I didn't want to not acknowledge your hand. I see Melissa has her hand up and Eileen does as well.
It's okay.
So go ahead, Dean.
No, I'll defer.
Okay. Melissa,
Thank
we we love having you have the floor. Hello.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a big fan of getting additional data, especially through perhaps looking at some kind of composite employees at the state and municipal level. But I do want to urge us not to take action on this next week. It is school vacation week, and I think many of our stakeholders will be on vacation, and I would hate to see us not have the type of attention that we would need.
Thank you. Eileen, Andrew.
Good morning. I can't hear you. Oh.
Morning. So I just had a clarifying question. Is the motion to table the plan design changes to member cost sharing, which appear, the pages aren't numbered, but there are 5 of them on the slide. Separately, there are plan design changes impacting both Medicare and active members, and I didn't know if the motion was for all of them or just the second slate of changes.
I think Andrew can answer that.
Well, I think Bobby made the
No, I
motion,
think-
so
yeah.
let's go back to Bobby on what is the motion? If you could be more
Yes.
specific.
Yes, the motion is to delay the vote on the remaining benefit design changes.
So the motion to table, I think, is the
It's
Yeah.
a motion to
Motion, yeah.
A motion to table it.
consideration of the remaining benefit design changes that have been presented. If I may, a motion to postpone should be to a date as people have suggested. And perhaps the way to finesse this is to say to the next available commission meeting.
Just the
When-
26th.
if we can do that, that at least pegs it to something.
And we do have a meeting set in February for the 26th.
Yes.
And then
I'm not
think then,
suggesting that that is the date. I'm just saying the next week. So we have a potential for scheduling something before that date, because we're going to run into open enrollment issues if we push
Yeah.
things out that need to be dealt with.
well, I think in the spirit of making sure we have a quorum, if we could, and it gives the staff enough time, could we have February 26th be the date that we have more data?
Madam Chair,
Andrew.
I would again just reiterate my comment that
You don't want to have a
delaying
deadline
to a
on it.
date certain pegs us to a specific date, and I don't know if that is the right date, if it will give us sufficient time, or if we could potentially be able to bring it back to the commission at a sooner date. So I think the most helpful for us, frankly, would be a motion, as Andrew suggested, to postpone to the next meeting that can be scheduled, whether it's the 26th or something we could do sooner.
Okay. Is that in alignment with what you're thinking, Bobby, for your motion?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so do you want to make it again?
Yes. Yes. I'll introduce a motion to postpone the vote on the remaining benefit design changes to the next available GIC meeting.
And this is with data that helps us make the decision.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And so
Thank
Bobby
you.
made the motion. Is that Kristen who seconded it?
I think it was Jane. I think it was Jane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Could we repeat the second?
Yes,
It was Jane. So Bobby made the motion. Jane has seconded it. And if it's okay with you, Andrew, I'd like to proceed to roll call to vote on it, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm an aye. I'd like to postpone it with more data. So I want to make sure that's on the record. Andrew?
Yeah, I'm just making a note. Sorry. Commission, Vice Chair Kaplan,
Aye.
Designee Sullivan,
Aye.
Designee Butler,
Aye.
Designee Ambler. I mean, sorry,
That's
Commissioner
okay.
Ambler,
I'm an aye.
Commissioner Choate, Commissioner Curley,
Aye.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Edmonds,
Aye.
Commissioner Guerin,
Aye.
Commissioner McEnany,
Aye.
Commissioner Peppin, I'll come back. Commissioner Robinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy Rodriguez,
Yes.
Commissioner Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinenko,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Choate,
Aye.
and Commissioner Peppin.
Might be on mute. Kristen?
Well, the motion passes anyway, by all voting. Just to confirm for the record, the vote was to postpone the consideration of the remaining benefit changes to the next available commission meeting. And that is passed.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
And thank you, everyone. I think you've heard, all stakeholders here on the commission, the commissioners want to see data on the impact, an impact analysis, taking into consideration the needs across all of the stakeholders that we serve. So thank you for the spirited conversation. To the GIC staff, do you need us to review the list of data that we'd like to see in order to make our decision be more informed?
I think we have what we need, Madam Chair, from this discussion. I would say if commissioners have any further thoughts as they contemplate that, send them to us as soon as you can so that we can get to work on it.
Great. And Bobby, do you still have your hand up from the motion, or
Oh,
would you
no,
like to make
sorry.
a comment?
No, sorry about that.
It's okay. It's up and down. The hand is up and down. It's okay. That's your job. Do it well. Okay, let's move on. FSA vendor recommendation with Cameron. Hello, Cameron. You've got the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the rest of the commission. If we could move on to the next slide, please. I will try and keep this short and simple. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to review the recommendation memo that was issued. Next slide. Okay. Again, just to a little bit of background, we did take this contract out rather than opt to renew. We had some concerns with tasks performance. There were some issues with member communications in the first year, and then ongoing negative feedback from participants in the plan regarding their level of service and documentation requests when filing those flexible spending account claims. Another little bit of background, the GIC really does represent some significant challenges as a plan sponsor for these plans. Because we are not the employer of record, we don't receive any of the tax benefits that most employers assume when offering these plans. And because we're not the employer, we can't provide an eligibility file. What's more, given the capabilities of all of our numerous offline agencies, it's really impractical for us to operate this in the most efficient manner that most of the large players in this space tend to prefer. We can move on to the next slide.
So as we're moving on to the next slide, and I know we're short for time, do you have a percentage mix of what percent of agencies are offline versus online? Because I do know it's an onerous process when they're offline, but I thought we had been making progress to get more and more agencies online. So what's the breakdown of online versus off?
I do not know that information off the top of my head. I'm not sure if Paul or Donna are available to answer that.
Sure, Valerie, it's about almost
50-50 for the offline and the online.
Okay.
Most of
Got
the
it.
offline are all your housing redevelopment authorities, retirement systems, et cetera, but it's almost split even.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's keep moving. Thank you, Cameron, for allowing me that interruption.
Absolutely. So, I was giving that additional background to address the fact that we did not see a lot of responses other than the current incumbent, our prior provider, and then the new vendor, Ameriflex, who we are actually recommending we go with. I think we should probably look at including a consultant for use next time to make sure that we are actually casting the widest net possible. But I think that this is the best solution we could come up with for the membership. Any questions from the commission?
I don't see any.
Okay. I guess we could move on then for the motion to vote slide.
So the recommendation. Oh, go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry. Cameron, I just wanted to ask, do we have any, with the Ameriflex, do they have contracts with other states, for public sector?
They
I'm
do.
just curious.
They do have other public sector clientele, mostly in the educational space, so large university systems.
Okay. And do you have any feedback like on member satisfaction, that sort of thing, and responsiveness to members?
We did check with references. There are anecdotally there are always going to be issues with claim documentation for FSAs, and it has to do with I have found personally that when somebody needs assistance with a claim, they don't realize what's missing. So just sending out the same list rather than saying, okay, what you're missing is the date of service, and you see that you paid with a credit, you swiped your card, but maybe you had a balance left over with the doctor's office that you were paying to, and so you can run afoul of those different claim eligibility rules, but it's the level of service that's provided in resolving that we wanted to improve.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, we've been hearing so much dissatisfaction with our current provider. Darren, go ahead. Question, motion, comment?
Comment. Yeah. So thank you, Cameron. So in my experience, there is no such thing as a great FSA administrator, unfortunately. Cameron's shaking his head, yes. And in over 20 years, that's what I have found. So you're almost looking for the best of the others, kind of thing. And in my experience, Task is actually one of the worst. So I'm happy to see a recommendation to go to another route. I have worked with Ameriflex over the years, and the experience was much better. Especially at the member level, I felt like they were pretty responsive. So I think this could be a very positive change.
Awesome. Well, so at this point, I'll entertain, based on the data that Cameron presented, I will entertain a motion here in front of me. To authorize GIC to contract with Ameriflex as the apparent successful bidder for admin of FSA benefit services as recommended by the procurement team led by Cameron. Bobby, is that a motion here to approve? Or I probably said that wrong, Andrew. Do I have that motion in front? Did you make that motion, Bobby? Yes.
She's on mute.
She's shaking her head yes. And Darren has made a second. So at this point, I will ask Andrew to do roll call. I'm an aye. Excitedly aye for better service for our members.
I also excitedly.
Designee Sullivan.
Aye.
Designate Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Ambler,
Aye.
Commissioner Choate,
Yes.
Commissioner Curley,
Aye.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Edmonds.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Guerin,
Aye.
Commissioner McEnany,
Aye.
Commissioner Peppin,
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy Rodriguez,
Yes.
Commissioner Silva,
Yes.
Commissioner Sinenko,
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously, and Ameriflex is the apparent successful bidder.
All right, go out and get us a great contract, and even more importantly, get us some great service for the constituents. They deserve it. All right, let's keep moving.
I think at this point, Madam Chair, we hand it over to our CFO, Jennifer Hewitt, for a brief CFO report.
Okay, great. Hello, Jennifer.
Good
Settling in
morning.
and everything? Hi there.
Definitely. So at this morning's meeting, we focused on plans for the next fiscal year, FY27. For my report, we want to provide a brief update on the current year, FY26, with a more thorough report planned for the February 26th meeting. Alongside the governor's budget for FY27, a supplemental budget was filed for FY26, and we wanted to provide the commission with some further context. So next slide, please. Since the beginning of FY26, the GIC has been tracking various funding exposures and reporting on them to the Commission. Initially, those were limited to funding levels in the FY26 budget due to some savings initiatives that were proposed but not implemented, as well as the GLP-1 veto. Those were somewhat offset by the implementation of Vita Health for GLP-1s and the Drug Savings Review Program mid-year. In December, we reported on a funding shortfall for the State Retiree Benefits Trust Fund, or SRBTF, which serves as a proxy for state spending on retiree benefits. We also spoke about a deficit in the enrollee account at the end of FY25, which was directly related to the FY27 supplemental budget. Added together, these items that represent funding difficulties total $153 million. Since that December meeting, we've been working to refine projections for FY26 and to understand the underlying cost drivers. One area that we uncovered is a quirk of the calendar that impacted FY25 and will not recur in FY26. Just for background, the GIC's health plans submit weekly invoices, and those from the two largest plans are received on Mondays. It just so happened that the start of FY25, July 1, 2024, was a Monday, and so was June 30th, 2025, meaning that FY25 had 53 Mondays, or 53 weeks worth of invoices rather than the typical 52. The impact of the 53rd week was $37 million, which carried forward into FY26, impacting our spending level in the budget for FY26. It's worth noting that the FY25 carry forward items, that 53rd week and the enrollee account deficit, account for $91 million of the FY26 exposure. Those costs are considered one time and will not recur in FY27. In addition, we have been comparing actual expenses to budget projections and updating and refining as we go. This has been a particularly challenging year with so many moving pieces, including most recently the Vita implementation on January 1st. We have also been working to confirm that the remaining $58 million of the $100 million SRBTF shortfall is in fact funded. If not, that will need to be covered via the supplemental and is embedded in the $110 million noted in the updated FY26 forecast. Otherwise, we have noted somewhat higher spending in FY20, particularly for pharmacy claims, and are continuing to refine our forecasts. The 110 million noted here is likely to increase. The additional items total 147 million, and when added to the previous items, the combined total is 300 million. As we look at our invoice cycle, we anticipate needing those funds by April 15th, so invoice payments aren't impacted. In the interest of time, a supplemental was filed with a preliminary value to give the legislature time to meet the date, that April 15th date, which is fast approaching. We will continue to report on updates to our projections as they become available. And I'm open to questions.
If I may, before we just go to questions, to provide one observation. First of all, thank you, Jennifer. There's a lot of moving parts here, and there's frankly no simple way to provide the information to you that is accurate and simple. But I want you to understand that the fact that the GIC needs another substantial supplemental budget this year, as we did last, should not be misunderstood to suggest that our budgeting for our claims performance was wildly off from the way our performance has evolved. As Jennifer noted, we have seen some inflationary pressures, as we frequently do. But I think what Jennifer's presentation makes clear is that a very significant portion of what is needed from the $300 million supplemental relates to policy and budgeting decisions that are really outside of the GIC's control. So I think it's important to have that context in mind. We have not seen $300 million of additional claims volume. This is a more complex and nuanced picture. Part of it includes the way our claims have played out over the course of the year, but a very significant piece of it relates to items that are just not our control, but decisions made by others. With that, I'm happy to pause for questions for Jennifer or myself.
Okay, I don't see anything. So thank you, Jennifer. Sobering. Not what we like to see. Thank you for at least bringing it to our attention. All right, I think we can move on.
That brings us to the conclusion, Madam Chair. If I could just have a brief moment. I want to express how deeply grateful I am to this commission for wrestling with these budget challenges and plan challenges in the way that you have. Our desire throughout this process was to engage with you early and often and regularly so that we could have the kind of dialogue that we've had over the last several meetings. These choices, these decisions are extremely difficult. And I just could not be more deeply grateful and appreciative of this commission with the way that you've approached that. I do want to say that the delay in the vote, just to reemphasize, that will have substantial impacts on our ability to do what we need to do. It is likely going to require an additional meeting. It may require rescheduling of the meeting on the 26th of February. It may even require us to consider whether launching annual enrollment on the 1st of April is feasible. These are all things that we're going to take back from this meeting and just figure out how we can be responsive to you, act as quickly as we can, but do so in a responsible manner so that our annual enrollment and our member experience can be what we all expect it to be, to live up to the standards that we hold for that. So just wanted to provide that at the tail end of the meeting.
Thank you, Matt. I don't see any other comments. I think we've lost a couple of commissioners. So, and I know you have a lot of work to do to get us the data and the innovation that we've been talking about to, meet open enrollment, or to the degree that's possible. So I'll give you back 4 more minutes by entertaining a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Darren made the first one. Do I have a
Second.
Second by Dana, who also needs the extra time. So at this point, we can all chime in. Let's adjourn, and we'll see you very soon.